Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr, and because we are live, also with Kevin Noon. First, Tom, how's it going?
Tony, I'm great. We just did a Buckeye Weekly like 20 minutes ago, so we are really loading up on content today. Tony, it's Arkansas State Week, and this is the first time in the history of the Ohio State football program that it has been Arkansas State Week, so it's understandable why we are loading up on so much content.
Me personally, Arkansas State Week started last week. It started, as soon as September hit. Kevin, how are you doing, and how are you celebrating Arkansas State Week?
It's kind of like Shark Week. I mean, it's always Arkansas State Week for me. At least 362 days a year. I mean, I do take a couple days off just because. Yeah, it's been it's been interesting because everybody's still kind of talking about Notre Dame. I think people are looking ahead to Wisconsin. So next week when it's Toledo Rockets week, we'll still probably have a lot of people wanting to talk about Notre Dame or Wisconsin, but excited to spend a day here in cyberspace with my good friends.
When do they show up?
About 105.
As always with these Friday shows, we have nothing planned. So if the viewers don't ask their questions, then you are going to get a terrible show. So this is on you all out there. So please fire away some questions. I think, Tom, the one thing that, and I'll let Kevin answer this because you and I discussed this quite a bit on the Buckeye Weekly that we just recorded. Kevin, it's going to be an opportunity to see some of the true freshmen finally this week. Is there any one or two that you are looking forward to seeing or you're expecting a relatively big game from?
I'd like to see Caden Curry get some reps on the defensive line. I would like to see maybe Kai Stokes get out there and see some of the promise that got him his black stripe removed pretty quickly. Of course, the freshman receivers, but how about Dallin Hayden too? I mean, I don't think this is a game where you need to overly tax Trevion Henderson or Mayan Williams. So, this is an opportunity for Dallin Hayden and, give him something a little bit more exotic than off tackle left and off tackle right.
Kevin, we do not allow you to make bold predictions. One of the things I asked Tom is on a scale of like 1, 2, or 3 points, 3 being bold or the boldest. If I were to say Dallin Hayden is going to lead the Buckeyes in rushing on Saturday, how bold do you think that is?
1.5. Because I think that there's a real opportunity he could get the whole second half. There's no Evan Pryor. Obviously, Xavier Johnson is a receiver as of now, so there's not really a lot of depth back there. I mean, I'm sure there's some walk-ons. They could find some things there, feed Mitch Rossi, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, if you sit there and you say that Trevion Henderson's going to get about a quarter of work, Mayan Williams is going to get a quarter of work as they're kind of intermixed, and then Dallin Hayden's going to get 2 quarters of work, and the offense is going to shut it down and get very vanilla. Maybe I'm talking myself down from a 1.5 to a 1 now at this point as I kind of think it through.
And I think there's a possibility that they're a little more pass heavy in the second half than you would otherwise be in a blowout game like this because you want to get Kyle McCord work, you want to get Devin Brown some work. We talked in the Buckeye Weekly show that is dropping on Friday that I would not be surprised if you saw Kyle McCord get a series or maybe 2 with the ones where you pull CJ Stroud out and then you give Kyle McCord a series with the ones, so he's worked with the receivers a little bit and he's worked with the offensive line a little bit. Just he is one play away at all times as the backup. So I think there might be some value in that. And then Devin Brown, you only get so many opportunities to throw passes as the third quarterback. This feels like an opportunity where he can potentially have a few drives where it's not just student body left, student body right. It's you're putting the ball in the air. You don't need to be throwing it downfield, but you're going against Butch Jones, and Butch Jones has been, he was the head coach at Tennessee, so he has been on the other side of games like this, which means he probably is smart enough to understand why you're doing what you're doing. You probably don't even need to talk to him beforehand and even say, hey, just in case we might, and nothing personal. We're just trying to get these guys some work. So I don't think that would be something that you're going to see him have an issue with after the game or anything like that. So I think there's a possibility that you see, I said to Tony, what are the odds that Devin Brown is within 3 of the number of passing attempts that C.J. Stroud has in this game? Does C.J. Stroud have 15 passing attempts and Devin Brown has like 12? Like I could potentially see that happening. That would be a lot for Devin Brown, but I could potentially see it happening.
I think you're going to see, I don't know, 18 or 20 throws from Stroud in the first half, and I don't know how much Devin Brown. I think you and I differ on this. I'm not sure how much to expect him to throw, but I think this is the opportunity, and I think Ryan Day can revisit 2021 not having allowed Jack Miller and C.J. Stroud to throw the ball in 2020, and probably wishing, if we would have just gotten them just a handful, like if there would have been an opportunity. And I think he can draw back on that and be like, I don't want to be in that situation again. So I don't care if I hurt somebody's feelings in terms of an opposing coach, especially Butch Jones. But yeah, it would be wise to just the opportunities you get, because you're not going to have many, get them out there throwing the ball. Kevin, I just saw the question about the right here from Dave Larman. First question, if I may: does playing Arkansas State really help or hurt the second game of the year, especially after a big name school like Notre Dame? This is an opportunity, I think, to measure the team's ability to avoid letdowns, and not that this is a possible loss or anything, but Mike Hall was fantastic against Notre Dame. Let's see him keep that level. Let's see the other guys keep their level. And really, Arkansas State shouldn't be any better than Notre Dame was offensively. Like, yeah, they're more prolific offensively, but they're not as talented, you wouldn't think. And so the defense for Ohio State should still look good. The offense should look better. Like, this should be a blowout, and it shouldn't be close. And if it is, now you've seen that Ohio State has kind of let down and played to their level of their competition, and you don't want that.
You can't come out and play hammers every week. I mean, it's just you can't. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, we don't see, the SEC would like you to believe that they go up against, challenge after challenge, and yet you still get to play Vandy and Missouri, and then of course you have your chicken bleep week where you get like the Citadel or Biloxi Barber College or somebody like that on there. So yeah, I think that there's a lot that you can gather here. I think it's a chance to be able to go out and play the young guys, as Tom and Tony both had mentioned. I think it's a chance to see if you can carry over some of the juice that you had from the previous week with your starters. I think you can't sit there and go in and be like, well, I'm going to take a mental vacation for this. We're just going to show up, and just by showing up, we're going to win by 40. You're going to have to go out and play. But, I think in a lot of ways, though, too, that this is a good opportunity to exhale a little bit. And, I'm sure there'll be people who might take that the wrong way, but it is what it is. I think it's a chance to exhale, go out, kind of play your game. You're not necessarily having to match up against, okay, well, Arkansas State is really dangerous at X and Y, so we've got to do A and B. I think it's, this is going to be Ohio State being able to go out and it's like, this is what we want to do. This is, try and stop us. And I don't think Arkansas State's going to have much opportunity to do that.
This to me reminds me a little bit of either a spring training baseball game or, a game in the minors where you're not necessarily really sweating the outcome, because Ohio State could play just okay and win this game by 3 touchdowns. I don't think they're going to be living and dying on every play. Like, boy, this is going to go right down to the wire. This feels like an opportunity for them to look at the film from week 1 and have you've got your stuff you want to work on. You've got your stuff you want to be able to teach off of from week 1. So okay, let's refine what we did week 1 and learn from that. Get better at some of the things that you maybe didn't do well the week 1, and then in addition to working in some of the younger guys and giving them some reps. So you look at a spring training baseball game, and it's, well, the pitcher comes in and really wants to work on his curveball, and it's like, are you really going to be throwing your curveball on 2-0 counts during the season? Well, no, but right now this doesn't matter that much, so you can do it a little bit here. It might be kind of the same thing where you're not necessarily going to do all the things you would do against a Michigan or at Penn State or in the Big Ten championship game. This is a chance to maybe break some tendencies, do some different kind of stuff, try some different things, try some guys in some different spots, have this be a little bit of an experimental game, a little bit of a lab kind of game that you can potentially learn from, and then when you do have games that are going to be a little closer and matter a little bit more, you can learn from this and have that potentially pay off down the road.
They're not asking CJ Stroud to go 4 quarters, any of these guys to go 4 quarters, but I have no problem with them asking to go all out for the 2 quarters that they're going to be playing, and they should be able to do that, especially the second game of the season when they've just been itching to play somebody else. So yeah, I agree. It's a breather, but breathe when you're not playing. Don't breathe when you are playing. I believe that's exact coaching terminology. What I don't want you guys doing out there is breathing, is what the coaches tell them. So yeah, I think there's going to be time for rest, but first make some plays. The one you just had up there, Kevin, about Ryan Day, from Billy Tuesday. Hi, hey, Kevin, Tom, and Tony. If you're having lunch with Ryan Day today, could you ask him to call runs on first down, an occasional jet sweep, and a few runs for CJ Stroud? Thanks. We have come full circle, or at least like a 180, where people want more runs on first down. You do it too often back in Tressel's day, and it's like, could you just please throw the ball on first down? You see all of these teams, these conservative offenses where, you got to run on first. Jim Harbaugh got to run on first down. Kirk Ferentz got to run on first down. And we have come to the point now where I wish Ohio State would run on first down. Like, why won't you run on first down? And I think there's some validity to that. But if you've got a good running game and you throw an incompletion on first down, you go pick up 6 yards on second down, and now you've got a 3rd and short. I think the real issue is the 2 incompletions on first and second down, or first down is an incompletion and second down is a 2-yard gain that gets tackled right away from running or throwing. It's the second down. I don't know. I have to check out the data, but the second down I think hurts them more than throwing on first down, Tom.
Yeah, it's just me, Tim. Running is good, but you don't want to be predictable. That's it. You can run on first down, you can pass on first down. As long as you're keeping the opposing defense kind of on their heels, it's fine. That's the whole goal of the game is not to be exactly balanced 50-50 run and pass, number of plays, number of yards. The whole goal is to be able to do both things whenever you want to do them. And the way you do that is by keeping the opposing team off balance. Now, Ryan Day has, I think, to a certain degree, you had a post this week, Tony, I think that kind of made it clear that this was not necessarily as big of an issue as as you might think, or as Ohio State fans probably think. But Ryan Day does tend to, when you get in a tight spot, when you're in a tight game, you are going to go to what are you most comfortable in, what are you most confident in. In Urban Meyer's day, that was the quarterback run. You would see those were the games you saw JT Barrett run the ball 18 times, because that was Urban Meyer's binky, and he was going to go find his binky when he got scared and was in a tight spot. For Ryan Day's a little bit more, he is a former quarterback himself. He is going to be a little more, inclined to throw the ball in those types of situations. And he's talked about the fact that they do get a little pass. As a hurt thumb.
Arigato.
Oh, good. So I'm breaking up. Good, fantastic. Good. Cool. I think you do kind of fall back on what you're most comfortable with, but it's probably, to Tony. I mean, I don't know if you pulled up those stats now, Tony, but it is not necessarily quite as egregious as people might think with Day.
Yeah, it was, somebody asked, I think it was in the all-day chat that we had on the board yesterday, will Ryan Day end up costing the team a loss or losing a game because he wants to throw so much? And I look back, you look back at his 4 losses at Ohio State. The first loss to Clemson was you lose J.K. Dobbins, and he's injured for almost a quarter of that game. They were running just fine with him. There wasn't anything about abandoning the run. And then you also have the terrible replay call that cost them a touchdown in that game. Then you go to 2020, and you've got the loss to Alabama where Trey Sermon gets injured in the first play of the game. So, abandoning the run there. I mean, they were already they had to score a lot, and they had Master Teague to do it with on the ground. And the 2019 Master Teague was the backup as well, and I think there's some correlation there. But last year, Oregon, did they abandon the run? No, they were running the ball more in the first quarter than they did. Then they threw it, and then they only scored like 3 points, and so they had to throw the ball to score some points. And the Michigan loss, I don't think it's about abandoning the run. I think it's about getting run over. And so, like, at this point, there's no, yes, he likes to throw the ball, but when you have quarterbacks, don't waste them. Like he's had the 3 best passing quarterbacks in Ohio State football history. So of course, he's going to, make use of them, and also perhaps some of the best definitely some of the best wide receivers in school history. And so, yeah, I think you're going to throw the ball, but also. They led the Big Ten in rushing in 2020. They led the Big Ten in rushing in 2019 with Ryan Day as the head coach. And so I think they'll be okay there. Tom, I see some consternation in the chat here. Would you like to address the issue?
Well, it seems like our chat right now is evenly divided between loving my hat and hating my internet. So we are on the highest internet that's available in our neighborhood. So sorry. And I love everyone, but I'm not. The last time we moved, I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. So, I mean, you can take it up with Google Fiber, have them bring Google Fiber to lovely Granville, Ohio, and then I will be happy to buy it. Right now, as always, just blame the cable company, because they are the ones who are disappointing you, not me. So, and second, as for the hat, yes, this is the first piece of Buckeye Huddle gear. I have a t-shirt and a sweatshirt that I've worn on various shows the last day or so. Kevin and Tony have hats coming, so they will have hats at the game on Saturday. But those are things that I had made locally. We are not officially, the official merch stuff is coming, but is not that whole setup is not ready yet. Something supply chain something, and now we're covered there. The best comment so far in the whole chat was from Kevin, who said just a moment ago, now I'm losing it, the best Huddle gear to buy is a subscription to Buckeye Huddle, which, I mean, that is tremendous content right there, and cosign, you should do that.
Wear it proudly. Tom, in regards to your internet, have you told the family to hang up the phone?
See, my kids aren't home, this is no longer summer vacation, so I can't yell at my kids that, get off of Minecraft, you're slowing down my internet. So yeah, this is, I mean, we know it's not my fault, clearly. I mean, that's sort of the stipulation that we go into every situation with. But, so now it's, instead of my kid's fault, now it's the cable company's fault, and that's fine. I'm actually more comfortable with that, because I like my kids more than I like the cable company, so that's fine.
Yeah, well, just wait till your kids get customer service and see how you like that.
Why are my kids experience a higher than usual call volume at all hours of the day, every day? I don't understand.
All right, let's get to a question here from or a statement here from It's Just Me Tim 79. Over under Ohio State scores 50 points. We have all already submitted our staff picks. We can go ahead and, I guess, talk about it now. We don't need to hold it till the end. I'm going 59-7. I'm going way over the 50. I think Ohio State's offense gets righted, and they're throwing the ball. I would expect a very explosive first half of passing from the Buckeyes. Might be underwhelming from Travion and Mayan Williams' point of view, because I don't know how much they're going to really be needed, and it's hard to stuff their stat sheet when they're 2 guys. It's much easier to do it with CJ Stroud when he can spread the ball to everybody. So I'm going 59-7, and certainly taking the over on that 50. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, I have 52-7. I kind of went round and round. I didn't want to necessarily say that there was going to be a letdown. I think for part of the week I had them in the 40s. I think that Arkansas State will score something late against the 3s. But, I think that Ohio State will jump out to a pretty good lead in the first half. It'll be something like 35-0. And then they'll just kind of play out the string in the second half, if you will. And, we'll get to see a lot of young guys, and we'll have a lot of content to talk about here on Buckeye Huddle, and all of our great content about, well, do you think that this guy needs to play more? I saw one flash out of him, and, I'm here for that kind of content.
I had it picked as 56-10 Ohio State. I'm right there with Kevin, where 35-3 at the half, 42-7 at the half, something like that. And then you get a couple touchdowns in the second half. It just, this is a game that feels like it's going to be like a little bit more of an interesting version of a spring game where they're actually trying and they're actually playing actual full tackle football the whole game. But also, I'm kind of looking a lot forward to the second half to see the younger guys and what they look like on when they finally get a chance to be on the field.
Yeah. Let's take this from Colin Burns. You guys think we're ever going to see CJ run the ball even just a little bit more? There were a couple times during the Notre Dame game where he had a ton of open field and forced himself into a throw. I understand. I understand why people get frustrated by this, but I go back to the completions that he made that picked up first downs. Would people have preferred that he run on those and pick up 6 yards and be short? Like, he thinks he's going to pick up a first down every time he throws the ball on those instances. Now, I think there was one where he should have taken off in the first quarter or second quarter. It was like a 2nd and 9 or something like that, and he would have certainly got 8 or 9 or 10 yards. And those are the ones that bother, that I think he could do more of. But I only think it's once a game or twice a game max where he could take off and run. Like, it's not necessary. Doesn't need to be part of the game. I think Bryce Young ran 5 times for 100 yards for Alabama. I don't know how much of that was controlled or how much of those were scrambles, but like, this is not Ryan Day, or this is not Urban Meyer's offense. Like, running the quarterback for this guy, it's not what he does. But Kevin, he has put a lot of work into getting faster, getting stronger, being more equipped to escape. So if you're going to do that, you may as well run a little bit, right?
Well, and I'll dovetail into RK's question about, do you think CJ doesn't know how to slide? We've seen him slide. I've also seen him take a hit that didn't get flagged, where he'd given himself up and he still got freight trained. I don't think it's a case of, he doesn't know how to slide. I don't think that you get to this level and don't have those types of mechanics down. I mean, it's not like in baseball where some catcher who's just a horrible runner doesn't know how to slide. I mean, pitchers don't slide because that's like a business decision. They're just not going to do it. I mean, some of them are made of glass, and you just can't do that. CJ Stroud is not made of glass. But I know the play that a lot of people referred to. I mean, the one where he had all he had to do was beat somebody with a 9 as the first number of their jersey, and they had a second number. He should easily been able to beat him and probably pick up the first down. Probably would have picked up about 15 yards. But we're also talking about a guy who finished 4th in the Heisman last year. Is in position to assault the Ohio State record books. I mean, Notre Dame notwithstanding, because that was kind of a pedestrian type of game. And as I said in another show, we're not that far removed from where 223 yards passing, 70% completion percentage, and a couple of touchdowns, everybody's high-fiving themselves. That that's not that far in the rearview mirror. So I understand the frustration. I think that there are times that I even pop off in the press box being like, oh, he should have run there or whatever, but just win, baby. Just win. It does, that's what it comes down to at this point. I don't think a CJ Stroud run for style points is necessarily going to change the end product. Now, if that ends up happening at some point, those words will come back to haunt me. But, I don't think that there's, I don't think he has to be sat down and it's like, gosh darn it, CJ, in much harsher terms, you need to run the blanking ball.
Well, I mean, you look at the Notre Dame quarterback Tyler Buckner. He ran the ball a bunch last week, and then there was the Lathan Ransom play where he slid. And I mean, we talked about this earlier, and it was like that was a pretty. I don't know that was necessarily a penalty on Lathan Ransom. It got called as a penalty on Lathan Ransom. He just didn't have a lot of time to react. But you ended up kind of banging heads, and all it takes is C.J. Stroud getting knocked out of a game, and it's a sprained ankle or a broken finger or a concussion, whatever it is. If CJ Stroud misses one of these key games, if CJ Stroud misses the Wisconsin game, people are going to be yelling about why did they have him run? You don't need him to run. You've got all this other talent. Don't put him at risk. And I think that's kind of how they're probably approaching this is, any individual one play, especially in games like this, he is not running against Arkansas State. Like, sorry, that is not. They are not gonna. They didn't run J.T. Barrett against teams like Arkansas State, so they are definitely not running C.J. Stroud against Arkansas State. But he can run. But I think you saw him using his legs last week not to run, but to get out in the pocket, out of the pocket, make plays. That throw to Mayan Williams. He used his legs. He got out. Would it have made you feel better if he ran it instead of thrown it? Like, okay, but he got the. He used his legs, avoided the rush, bought time, found a guy downfield, and made a play that really was one of the crucial ones on that 95-yard game-clinching drive. So, I think ultimately, people get hung up on the rushing yardage totals for him, or he never keeps the ball on the reads, and it's like, yeah, okay, but I think there are bigger goals that they have here that involve C.J. Stroud being healthy.
Yeah, and I also don't think they're asking him to run the ball, because I don't think there are reads when it comes to him running the ball or handing it off. It's him handing the ball off or throwing it on the RPO. Those, they're not asking him to run, and they haven't. I don't even know the last time they called a run for him, other than the sneaks, which they did twice against Notre Dame. And in terms of his running, like, he ran a lot last week. He did a lot of escaping. He just didn't run past the line of scrimmage much. This one from It's Just Me Tim It's Just Me Tim 79 giving us some science. The red wolf is a canine native to the southeastern United States. Its size is intermediate between the coyote and the gray wolf. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows red wolf. They know where it lines up and in line with all of the other wolves. Who doesn't know that? Also, as we discovered this on Wednesday, Tom, their logo looks like a wolf is bawling.
It does. I don't know what they were going for with the lines on the outside of the eyes of the red wolf. I have not seen a regular red wolf, so I don't know. Maybe there's a white line there or something, but it looks like the wolf is crying. I tweeted out the picture of the beat Arkansas State thing on the scoreboard on the indoor field when we were there on Wednesday, and it's just like, what were you going for there? Because whatever it was, unless it was crying, unless it was the old Native American in the litter ad from 30 years ago or 40 years ago, I don't know what you were going for there.
The Fighting Irish, the Crying Wolves, it's about having an action term there. This from Kyle Salyer. Is there going to be a huddle eats or a hungry huddle while on road games this season? Kevin.
Let me turn my mic back on. Yes, we just have to have a road game first. So that's, the thing of why we haven't had it. I think, I'm a big proponent of us having a kind of dry run here in Columbus, doing something. But, branding still TBD. We're just going to have to figure that one out. I think this year with what we're going to do with our huddle food segment, maybe a little bit more pre-planning. It's my fault that we kind of winged it a little bit, not that much more. We might have to order for Tony. But outside of that, yeah, we really enjoyed doing those types of pieces. There was it was a lot of fun. Honestly, we need two cameras. We need a camera of what we're actually doing, and then a camera of us cutting up as we're preparing to do it, because the whole thing is comedy. I'm going to throw this out here just to up the production value at one point. If we can find a place that supports it, let's do one live, since we're not cowards.
Live. Interesting. I'm not against it.
That sounds fun and casual. I'm for it.
Have you seen these videos where you get like four women will go, they're gonna plan a day out, but they buy each other outfits from the secondhand store, and you don't know what you're gonna have to wear until you show up at a house and everybody has to put these outfits on. What if we order for each other, as Kevin suggested? What if we order for each other and you don't know what you're going to get until the order is made? Is that something that would really, really annoy you?
I'm such a picky eater. I would lose my mind. I mean, here you go. Here's your portobello burger or something like that. That would just be, no, I would not be down for that.
Okay. Then you just have to wear the outfit we picked for you.
I don't dress well to begin with, so it could be an improvement.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I like it. I think not only do I think we should do it, and I believe it's a 2-1 vote in favor, so therefore I think we win. If I understand democracy correctly, and at this point I would like to think that I do, I believe that we win, and I have a feeling. I know a place with a great portobello burger, so I'll order for Kevin and you guys. I am not a picky eater, so yes, I'm fine with it. And then Kevin can order Tony wings with bones in them and take the ketchup off the table, and it sounds like a wonderful meal.
Does
For it.
Burger King have a great portobello burger?
No, but they have that Impossible Burger, and it would be impossible to get me to eat it.
Good comment here from obviously Tony Gerdeman's burner account. My bold prediction for the season is that Tom will finally make bolder predictions. I know it's a long shot, but I have faith. To me, this is a 10-pointer because this is the most unlikely thing to happen in the history of the internet, where if Tom to be, although maybe this is a compliment, Tom. He's saying you're going to be even bolder, which, I mean, you haven't been yet, but again, this is a season-long thing.
Tell me Tony lost week 1 without telling me that Tony lost week 1. Mm-hmm.
Next question. All right, let's deal with Gary K here. Hope to see a lot of the freshmen in this game, especially C.J. Hicks, Caden Curry on the defense, and the young wide receivers, and Dallin Hayden on offense. I'm with you. I think we're going to see a bunch of Dallin Hayden. I think the way he was successful against the Buckeyes in practice gives you a sense that he might hit a couple of home runs in this one. And what is that, 30-yard? Sure, where he's going to kind of be a standout in this one. I think that's what I am expecting. I think one of my bold predictions was at least like a 26-yard run. Feel pretty good about that one. So I'm looking forward to seeing him out there. I still would like to, as you always want to see the freshman receivers. Right now, I think the most likely would be Caleb Brown and Keon Graves because they are the two with their black stripes off, Tom.
Yeah, I think those are probably the two most likely. You're probably going to see all four. I just think those are probably the two who you see first. Yeah, Kai Stokes I'm interested in seeing. Caden Curry, C.J. Hicks, Sonny Styles. But, I mean, Devin Brown, I think, is the one who you're potentially going to see the most of or, be involved in the most plays. He's someone who maybe outside of Dallin Hayden. But, yeah, it feels like this is a game where you have an opportunity to just – this is going to be a spring game. One of the true freshmen is going to have a big game, and it's going to be like, oh man, and then everyone's picking him to have 150 yards against Wisconsin in 2 weeks. It's like, no, that's not what that means. If they have Jackson Smith and Jigba back, and Marvin Harrison and Julian Fleming and Emeka Ibuka, sure, you're gonna, it's going to be a little bit harder of a path to the playing field, but. In addition to those guys, there's a bunch of those second-year guys. I'm really interested to see Jaden Ballard. Let's see what Jaden Ballard can do. Let's see Tyleik Williams. Let's see Jordan Hancock. Let's see J.K. Johnson. Let's see, first-year guy Jair Brown. He's lost his black stripe. Okay, what does that look like on the field? So, yeah, this is, I think this, in some ways, the second half of this game is almost more interesting to me than the first half of the game, because the first half of the game feels like it's either going to go well for Ohio State or extremely well. And the second half is I feel like you're going to learn a lot more in the second half than you do in the first.
Kevin, over-under on Sonny Styles interceptions on Saturday is a 0.5. Where are you going?
Well, 17th-year senior James Blackman's probably going to play a good part of that game. And, he wouldn't be there 17 years if he were ready for the next level. I'm still going to say under just because – I just like being right, and I just don't think that it's going to be one of those situations, and maybe I'm just willing it into existence.
I like this question from Phil Sasser. Will Josh Proctor start again this season? Ryan Day said yesterday that he expects Lathan Ransom to start, and they'll still have to have a good practice and talk it over with Perry Eliano and Jim Knowles, but based on how Lathan Ransom played in the last game, that's enough to keep you in the lineup, especially when you're close to being there anyway. But will Josh Proctor start again this season? Tom, I think it may depend on injury at this point because I think they really, really, really like Ronnie Hickman and Lathan Ransom. I think it would take somebody stepping back more than Josh Proctor stepping forward.
That's kind of what I think, because it feels like they were very happy with what they got out of those three guys, and then you saw that those three guys will hold up against a team that's maybe a little bit more physical, run the ball, tight end, rather than throw the ball downfield. So if that's the case, it feels like those are probably your three starters. So it probably does take an injury for Lathan Ransom or someone else to lose that starting job. I do like Eric Biddle, who is constantly calling you Todd in the chat instead of Tony. That is in fact a picture backdrop for Todd. Yes.
I was kind of wondering what the Todd situation was there.
First of all, if my name was Todd, it would be two D's. All right, the 1D Todd, no, that's odd, and odd, of course, has two D's as well. So I don't know the correlation there, but I would definitely be a 2D Todd. Let's not make any mistakes about that. Terry Kovac talking about Donovan Jackson. Kevin said he didn't look good. See the weak link. I mean, it was his first start, and he got better as the game went on. But I don't. If there is a weak link, is it him?
Well, I think a lot of people might jump out and say that, in terms of the lineman, that maybe DeJuan Jones had the worst game because he was ready to go to the point of jumping the whistle a three times. So, and I kind of jumped in the chat too and said the same thing that Todd said, that Jackson made his first start, had an issue or two, but it felt that he picked it up. When you sit there and you have all these guys that have a ton of starting experience and you're the lone guy who was making his first start, there's a little bit of a ramp up for you. So, I think that, you could look early in the game, and there were certainly a couple plays I remember where Donovan Jackson got beat, but I don't think he's a weak link.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just fine. RK asking Julian Fleming, Cameron Babb this week. Any news? I would. I don't think Cam Babb is playing. Like I said, we talked about it on the Buckeye Weekly podcast that is dropping this after. That has just dropped. Don't go now yet. But like we saw him on Wednesday, and he still had his knee brace on. And remember when this went down, it was talked about he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Now he didn't show up on the availability report last week, so. Now the frustration and what we have to deal with at times when we get the availability report, and you look at it and then like, oh, this guy's not on it. Does that mean he's not playing? But as we said going into that game, yeah, he's not on it, but we still don't know that he's going to play. And so I'm not expecting him to play. Julian Fleming, Ryan Day said he is very close. So Tom, I'm expecting Fleming to play, barring anything new. Because you got to get him out there and get him playing, and I don't think Cam Babb is playing.
Yeah, Cam Babb feels like they're going to be a little more cautious with him just because he had so many different injuries, and he's not necessarily someone who he's in that top 6/7. He's in these circles of trust. He's not necessarily someone who they're banking on to be a starting type player this year. Fleming is someone who I think is at least a starter. Or in the top 4 where it's, a starter with a little bit of an asterisk on it. And you've got to get him on the field.
We're gonna drop him while his internet gets back together. I didn't mean to go full screen there, but he was getting a little robotic there, and I can see him in the green room that the frustration with the internet. I can't say much because my internet was trash for a couple weeks here. So I mean, it happens to all of us. What say you, Todd?
Let's discuss this comment here from Caveman. A random question. Does anyone know why Jason Tatum, a Dookie, was at the game on Saturday? And I would just say, it's the thing to do. It was a place to be. Being a Duke basketball person, you obviously can't be a Duke football person. So you have to find a football team to root for. And as we know, all Duke fans have other football teams that they root for, because they're not actually like Duke people. They're like Dodgers fans or Mets
Yankees fans. Yeah. Oh, stop. Whatever. They're Todd.
Be nice. Sue is here. Sue is a Duke basketball fan, and she's an Ohio State football fan too. So yes, she's proving your point, but also be nice. We like Sue.
No. My apologies to Sue. I'm talking about everybody but Sue when I mentioned that. But yeah, I mean, it was. Like, if you have an opportunity, you're doing nothing. yeah, let's go check that out. And clearly he's a college sports fan, and that was the best thing going. Maybe he's at Darrell K. Royal Stadium tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon to watch Alabama lose to the Longhorns. Maybe. We'll see. What is
Okay,
this?
hook 'em.
Okay. Eric Biddle apologizing for mistyping my name. Perhaps it was a typo. Perhaps it was not. But also he mistyped Wolverine as well. So maybe I don't think we can put too much stock in what Eric Biddle types because maybe it's a small keyboard or maybe it's a phone, whatever. So it's all good. The only problem is that now these two idiots next to me are like going to latch onto this forever, and it's
Going to. It's latched, baby. It's latched.
the latching has been done. Comment here from T. Gherkin: is it just me, or is our collection of running plays really so limited? I don't know that it's limited, and I think Justin Fry is going to add to it. But being week one, you got to do what you can do, what you're best at, and your best running plays. Now you can sort of branch out, I think, and get a little more creative. And maybe that's what these next couple of weeks will be. And then you find out what exactly you want to use against Wisconsin. But it's going to go back to what you do best. And I think, Tom, did Ross talk at all about any of the changes offensively in terms of the running game? I know there were it wasn't the old standbys that we saw last week, but I think they are branching out with that, and frankly, not running out of the under center and out of the pistol was, I think, a big thing.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest change that he talked about, and that was something we talked about on the Friday morning show as well. Was running out of that pistol formation where it's not the true shotgun; it's kind of like halfway back to the shotgun. That was created by Chris Ault at Nevada like 10 years ago or so, and it's something that Ohio State was very predictably. That was a run formation for Ohio State last year, almost 100%. And they really started breaking that tendency. Ross said that's one of those things you can identify. Take the time over the offseason, identify your tendencies, and then break them and make yourself less predictable. That was one of the biggest changes that he saw in the run game week one.
Yeah. Dave Larman here. Please, if there is a God, no more catching punts over the shoulder. Let the ball go and hang further back. Emeka Ibuka talked about that on Wednesday. Basically, he hung back for like the first two punts, and then those two were really short, so they moved him up because they figured this guy's a short punter, and then he boomed like two of them over his head. The last one I was in the elevator for, I didn't even see, but I watched the replay, and it's like, I don't know if they had Emeka like 30 yards up near the line of scrimmage, because it's like he was running for another 30 yards for these footballs, and it was very, very odd. Ryan Day, I think, said they've got that cleaned up. It was I've never seen anything quite like that, and the idea to move him up that much, and maybe they don't want these punts rolling. Obviously, they don't. These Australian punts, they don't want them rolling. But then to just be yo-yoed like that was a pretty new one, Kevin.
Yeah, they missed JSN, I think, in terms of doing things there. And I don't know. I mean, generally there's a coach or, somebody, as Todd sees his comment from Sue, a coach saying, no, get deeper. I mean, this isn't baseball where you can go under your cap and have, your little sheet that tells you where your defensive positioning is for every situation. It's a work in progress, but they need to get that cleared up.
I think the last punt, the long punt of the day for the punter for Notre Dame was 75 yards. So, if you're getting a 30-yarder on the first one and a 75-yarder at some point, and there's probably some roll on there, but even if it's a 35-yarder and a 60-yarder, and there's only one guy back there, I mean, there's only so much you can do at that point to, be able to catch everything. And, with the way the offense is sort of projected to be this year, you feel like they almost are, running back and trying to Willie Mays it over your head. That just seems like a real good way to, have the ball bounce off your hands. And that's an almost impossible catch, and he made at least one, maybe two of them. So, yeah, I wonder if they're going to be a little more conservative with that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and to even at the point he's running full speed to catch it over his shoulder, and then you're going to lose another 5 to 7 yards as he's turning around, just because that's the way the momentum carried him. They should do what maybe they should do what they used to do back in Trestle's day, the 2014, where you had Ted Ginn and Santonio like split. Instead of having them split, you have like an up back and a deep returner. Tom,
When he
no
let you go.
phones.
Sorry, I was trying to come up with a way to match Kevin's email notification sound in terms of volume, but
I closed my email. Nothing. I'm not expecting anything good there right now.
well, it's a spam call, so I have to take this.
There
It
you
might
go.
be about my extended warranty.
Gary K brings up a suggestion: do one of the eat segments, the food segments in California. Where I'm kind of reading in between the lines, and we could do that. National championship game, I think, would be the next time we would be in California per se, or perhaps a season opener against USC the following 2024, perhaps. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, we've talked about that internally about trying to do something where we open it up to local subscribers or people who just happen to be in town for the game and do something. Now, no, certainly there are issues in terms of if we have a group of 30, where it could be a little challenging, but that's a good problem to have if we have 30 subscribers or 30 people who watch our videos together. I'm willing to kind of figure that one out. And and Dave just talking about a tailgate party, live podcast, maybe a contest winner. One thing I'll say is the one thing we certainly don't have time for in terms of as staff is organizing a tailgate party. So if you do have a tailgate party that you would like to open up, get in contact with us, and we'll see what we can do. Maybe we could do part of the pregame show from there. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities of things that we could do in terms of that. And something else that I'll throw out there is we have been talking with a local establishment here in Central Ohio about maybe doing a Friday evening get together around a road game. I won't give any more specifics than that until I get some things hammered out on there, but a good opportunity to come by, see us, have a pop or two. Maybe we get on the air for an hour. We'll see. So we love all of our subscribers. We love everybody who likes this channel. Be sure to subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, all that good stuff. If you're listening to the audio, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. But we want to work with you guys.
Yeah, and week 1, Notre Dame, we got invited to go. A couple members of the site invited us. Hey, come stop by the tailgate. So Kevin and I came and stopped by the tailgate and hung out for half an hour or so. We're not that fun on game days because we're generally working for about 12 straight hours, give or take. So, we generally don't have a ton of time to hang out. We definitely do not have time to organize something on game day for us to be running it. But we are all about hanging out with subscribers, and road games are always very good for that. So we will continue to find ways to make that happen as best we can.
Comment here from Todd Gump: Todds are great. Accept it. Got no issues with Todd. It was just the number of D's. That's all.
Tony Gumpaman. There it is. I'm not a smart man, but I know what a podcast is.
Life is like a box of ketchup.
This from Gary K. Want to see the offense establish the running game first and work on getting the younger receivers involved in the passing game. Let the big guys eat first, then feed the wide receivers. I think Ryan Day would never admit we got to try to keep CJ Stroud's Heisman momentum going. But when you've got a quarterback like that, I think you want to get him his numbers and you want to throw the ball, and Ryan Day likes to throw the ball. So I think they're going to throw it early more than run it, and then that way you can get CJ Stroud out, and maybe you continue to run it with Mayan and Travion in the third quarter, halfway through the quarter, maybe give them each a series into the second half. But usually these kinds of games, it's just you open up throwing the ball, and you're throwing, get downfield, score in 2 minutes, then force 3 and out, and you've got your second possession of the game. The first quarter still has 12 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, this is this is a game where you're probably going to see some big plays. You really did not see the explosive Ohio State offense last week. Feels like this might be a week where that changes, where Travion Henderson breaks off a 60-yard run, or Jaden Ballard has a 70-yard touchdown, or you have a long catch and run by Emeka Egbuka, something like that. It feels like this is a game where you're probably going to get to see a little bit more of the flash and the razzle dazzle on offense, both in the running game and the passing game.
Running through some of these comments here. How many holding calls did the O-line have on Saturday? That's from a dog named Brutus. I think it was one or two, and I think one was declined because of the chop block.
Yeah, I think Donovan Jackson got called for one on the same play where Travion Henderson got called for the chop block, so that one didn't get. Were there any enforced? I don't know that there were any enforced.
I don't think there were. Yeah, it was just the false starts and the personal fouls that other people were getting. So I thought, the penalties. There's Jaden Ballard getting that penalty. Ryan Day said, he came off to the sideline and said, "Well, he hit me first," and it's like, well, that's what every coach wants to hear. That is the best excuse for a personal foul that there ever has been. Is, well, what was I supposed to do? Not retaliate? And coach would be like, "Oh, no, you're good. We're going to give you a Buckeye leaf for that. Retaliation, that's a Buckeye leaf," and especially if the ref sees it. All right, here we go. Super chat from Todd Gump. Who do you want to see at the Leo in the second half? Tom, I'll let you have that one. That's an interesting one. Go ahead, because I'm just trying to think who the Leos in the second half would be.
I'm trying to think down the chart a little.
It feels like, one is Jack Sawyer, two is probably Javonte Jean-Baptiste, probably. Three, we keep hearing about Paula Naoteote. So, who do I want to see? I want to see Caden Curry. I don't know if he's actually, if he's really working there. I don't know that that's a name that we've heard them talk about at that spot. I'm just trying to think back to, what did Jim Knowles say a month ago when we asked about this early in camp? Because it feels like Caden Curry is potentially a good fit there, and he's someone who's right at the top of the list of guys I'm most interested to see on Saturday. But I don't know if you're going to see him there, if you're just going to see him at the one of the more traditional end spots.
I think Jim Knowles talked about him possibly in the spring as a Jack or a Leo. But when we last talked to Knowles, it was those three guys that you named. It was JJB being the second guy and Palaia Naoteote being the third. I'm interested to see Kenyatta Jackson. Like, he's not the biggest guy in terms of, like, he's not a 260 pounder. He's like a 230 pounder right now. Kind of a speed guy. Mario Abor is smaller than Caden Curry. So, like, technically, like, if you're looking for that, not that strong side type, like, he could be in there. But, like, we've heard nothing about those two in that role at all. And you do wonder, like, do you give those snaps in the fourth quarter to EA, or do you give them to a younger guy? Do you let Caden Curry in there instead of the fifth-year senior, and you're planning for the future and building towards that? Because EA Naoteote has been on the field at USC and Ohio State before, so he understands it. But also, you've got to let your veterans play a little bit. So I don't know that it's necessarily the Leo that will be the most interesting to watch. It may just be just the regular defensive ends. Like, Caden Curry may be in there and it'll be fun to watch him, but he may not be moving around. There may not be a Jack in that fourth quarter, honestly.
I think a lot of times, we want to see a team build for next year or the year after that, but you've got to, you have to focus on this year, especially this early in the season. I think it's going to be more important to make sure you have the depth of who's ready to go now. And, honestly, we do see times where the young guy still is the correct answer. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with EA. I'd like to see EA get some run there. But you have to make sure if you're sitting there and you've got this plan of, well, this is what 23 and 24 are going to look like, and you lose track of 22, you're not going to be here in 23 or 24. And that's not, jump into some conclusion that Ryan Day's on any sort of hot seat. I'm just speaking in generalities.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Another burner from obviously Tony Gerdeman's burner account. A chance to meet a titan of the industry at a huddle tailgate? Sign me up. I guess Tom and Kevin can come too. So now, generally, I don't normally partake in tailgates because my computer is, every time this year has been on the fritz, and I have not been able to make it to a tailgate. But you know what? For $5, I will do it. I will be part of a tailgate. But and also, you guys can come too because honestly, I'm not going to drive myself. I need my drivers.
Well, somebody has to run security for Todd.
Every man has a price, and for Todd, it's $5.
Question here from Harry Sarvis. How do you think Arkansas State will do the rest of their season with their 40-plus transfers, Kevin? And I know you did the tail of the tape on the Red Wolves. Like, I understand you've got to change your program and you can bring all of these players in. It's really hard to build a culture with a transient team and guys that may not feel connection and may want to leave as early as they get there. But it's a quick way to start that up, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. So give us some Arkansas State thoughts and the transfers and what you're expecting.
Well, I'll say this. Michigan State has kind of shown the pattern of how you can kind of have some success with transfers. Mark D'Antonio, I mean, the end of his era, they were a little thin at some positions, so Mel Tucker's had to go and do the portal. We're definitely talking about the difference between a Power 5 team, a team that generally is pretty good in the Power 5 versus a team in the Group of 5. I believe they were 2-10 last year. So you need to get some immediate help there. And I mean, obviously, James Blackman has been a journeyman, started at Florida State, then was on Last Chance U, and then, he's bounced around. I mean, they've gone through, and both of their running backs, obviously Brian Snead, formerly of Ohio State, and then the JUCO ranks, and now they're I believe their other back was out of Iowa State. I mean, they've gone through. They've multiple defensive starters from Tennessee. I mean, there are a lot of guys there, but I'll kind of couple this with my thoughts on IMG Academy in some regards, where you don't have guys who are coming up through the system together, who have played together. The chemistry, as Tony says, when you watch the Pro Bowl and these guys, or the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and these guys get like a day to kind of fart around together. I mean, you're getting a little bit more than this in terms of Arkansas State, but you don't have that type of chemistry that you're going to get where, okay, 17 guys from my recruiting class are still here, and we've gone through 5 a.m. workouts, we've gone through the summers, we've gone through all of this stuff. So it's going to be difficult. I think that Arkansas State is going to be better than the 2-10 team they were last year. But they're not necessarily somebody that's going to be a juggernaut in the Sun Belt. And really what's going to happen for them to turn things around is they're going to have to up their recruiting. And, you get into a catch-22 situation. If your team is not doing well and the product looks bad, how are you going to recruit? Well, you better go and have some immediate success. So maybe then you have to go to the portal and get some guys that are more physically developed. But then when you're filling spots there, how are you going to recruit?
Tom, your thoughts on Kevin saying Arkansas State is a Pro Bowl team?
All right. Well, we'll give him another minute. And for everybody to know, he told me when he was loud typing, he told me when his audio went kaput to drop him. So this is not me picking on Tom or anything like that. These are per his wishes. I should put him up right now. He's flung his head back in frustration, and I can see his camera in the green room, but I'm not going to do that to him. Now, for Todd, I would. Again, if I keep saying this, it will latch. It started with ketchup, and now ketchup is like permanent lexicon. It's canon. Now I'm trying to make Todd into canon.
It's just going to be run into the ground, and nobody's even going to mention it, just like the ketchup stuff. So,
no. Tom is still really pixelated. I'm not sure if we have him back yet or not. We'll try and see.
I'm trying to get him back so that we can say goodbye. Not that you can do anything. You do not have the wherewithal to tell him to hang up his phone. But anyway, as Tom is just frozen there. Oh, can you hear us from the moon?
Hello.
No,
hello.
Anyway.
I can't tell you. I don't know where I am. I'm scared. Do I see towels? Maybe I'm trapped in the linen
You're in the
closet.
linen closet again, Dad. All right, there you're back. All right, so we've thrown our picks out there. It's time for us to start wrapping it up. Any final thoughts from anybody before we go? Tom Headroom. Tom, while you are nope, you're frozen. Kevin, any final thoughts from you?
I mean, I think that it's going to be a nice warm day at the shoe, and I'm looking forward to getting out there. I think it's going to be an opportunity to see a lot of young guys go out there. I'd like to see the passing game take a little bit of a step forward against obviously there's not a Brandon Joseph patrolling safety for Arkansas State. I mean, again, when to kind of get back to the transfer comment, there's a reason why a lot of guys transfer. If the guys who transfer up, it's because they're so good they're transferring up. The guys who maybe are transferring down, they never got an opportunity at their previous place. I think that this game is going to be over by halftime, and I urge everybody to check us out on the pregame show around 9 a.m. or so, and the postgame show afterwards. A lot of big plans.
I want to see them throw the ball downfield, but I wonder if Arkansas State will do everything they can to keep that from happening and try to keep the game in front of them, which will make it a little more boring, but still plenty of scoring for the Buckeyes. Tom.
I'm going to save all of my thoughts for tomorrow when I'm an actual professional in a major American city. So we'll see you guys all pregame tomorrow, and then I'll share my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're subscribed, you hit the bell to be notified. You'll find out when we go live. It'll be sometime tomorrow morning, early-ish. Not dawn early-ish, but early enough to follow along with us as we get you guys ready for this one. And then, of course, like last week, almost immediately after the game, our stream starts. We'll take you to the post game, and Mark and a guest or two will be with him there. Devin Radcliffe, I believe, will be back again this week as he was with Mark last week, and that will carry you through post-game interviews. Interviews are probably going to be a little bit different this week. We're going from one shot of the players and the coaches to, after that first session with coaches, with the coaches and maybe CJ Stroud, then we're going to all sorts of different tables, and it's going to be a scrum there. So we're still going to do everything we can, and we'll have interviews for you that way as well. So it's going to be I don't want to say all day, but for a good time, for a good portion of time after the game, we will be with you. And then, of course, we'll do the instant reaction podcast once all of those interviews are done. So thank you for joining us on a Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We will talk to you guys later.